So hey guys, welcome to a new movie review. Today I'm reviewing a film that's actually a sequel to a film I reviewed recently. And what I reviewed recently was a film called Black Belt Jones, which starred Jim Kelly. He was a co-star of Enter the Dragon. And I really liked Black Belt Jones. I thought it was a really good 70s martial arts film. And since I have a copy of the sequel Hot Potato that came with the Black Belt Jones in the 4-pack of movies, I figured I'd review Hot Potato, which is the sequel to Black Belt Jones. So in Hot Potato, you guys, Black Belt Jones and two other guys are sent over to Thailand, and they're asked to rescue a daughter of an ambassador who the daughter's been kidnapped. They got to go over there. She's being held hostage for a lot of money, and it's up to Black Belt Jones and these other two guys to go there and rescue her. One of these guys is basically kind of like more of a ladies' man, more so than Black Belt Jones is. Just kind of in it to get with the girls and things like that. And then the other guy is this total goofball that rides the elephants in goofy ways and pokes fun at his fat all the time and stuff like that, and makes fun of the fact that he's fat and all that kind of stuff. So basically, it's up to these three individual and very unlikely trio to go down to Thailand and rescue this daughter of an ambassador over the course of Hot Potato. So overall, guys, Hot Potato compared to Black Belt Jones really is a huge, big drop in quality, all in plot, all in the action scenes, all in character development, everything you can imagine. It's definitely a major drop in quality. I guess just to put in perspective, so Black Belt Jones came out in 1974. Hot Potato came out in 1975. So that literally over the course of 1 year, they had the whole film made, had the whole film written, had the whole film ready to go, shown in theaters over the course of 1 year after Black Belt Jones. And unfortunately, it does kind of show here. It really is a very rushed production. It definitely did not help the Black Belt Jones character at all. Though, Jim Kelly was still a very lovable performance here in the movie. It's one of those big major drops in qualities where everything I liked about Black Belt Jones unfortunately didn't continue very well over into Hot Potato. But for my positives and negatives of Hot Potato, guys, I do like the fact that they did go with a more international flavor with this film. The fact that they really tried to go outside of the U.S., send Black Belt Jones to a different country, put him in a situation that he normally isn't in, compare him up with people that, can stand their own in a fight and things like that, but they're very different kind of people to compare to Black Belt Jones. So I like the international flavor of this film. I like how they did try to go out there and go to a different country and film something different with the Black Belt Jones character. Unfortunately, it wasn't a very good or worthwhile adventure, but the fact that they did go out of the country to film this, I think, is kind of an interesting way to do another Black Belt Jones story. And then that goes into my next positive point. It is cool to see the Black Belt Jones character return for another film. Basically, it is another Jim Kelly martial arts movie at the end of the day. And in this film, he's really just referred to as Jones. He's really not referred to as Black Belt Jones like he was in that first movie. But it is cool to see the character come back. It was cool to see Jim Kelly come back too. I found out in the end credits too, I guess Jim Kelly did choreograph his own fight scenes. Unfortunately, because the camera work isn't very good in this movie and it's not directed very well, it doesn't really give him a lot of justice and a lot of credit to how good he might have did with choreographing his own fights. But it is cool to see that because he did so well in both Enter the Dragon and Black Belt Jones, they did give him more creative freedom with the fight scenes and they were allowing him to choreograph his own stuff and things like that. So that was my another positive point I have with this movie was it was another Black Belt Jones story with other cool things along the way, like Jim Kelly choreographing his own fights. Another positive I have with this movie is I did like the attempt at making another standalone story for Black Belt Jones. And that's another cool thing. It wasn't just called Black Belt Jones 2. It wasn't just the return of Black Belt Jones. It really was, Hot Potato is its own thing. Yes, at the end of the day, it's also a sequel to Black Belt Jones, but at the end of the day, it's also kind of its own thing. So I do like this effort that they had of finding another name, another cool kind of title to give a Jim Kelly martial art movie. There really is no potatoes in the film besides the one on the poster of Black Belt Jones and of Hot Potato. So, literally, that's the only potato you'll see in this movie is this sai going into the the potato right there on the poster. So that's the only potato you see in a film called Hot Potato, but it's more metaphoric more than anything else. For my negatives, though, of Hot Potato, the voice dubbing and ADR recordings are very, very bad in this movie. They were pretty bad for the most part in Black Belt Jones also, but they were extraordinarily bad here. There was definitely a lot of lines where you could tell that person did not say that on the day of the set and things like that. There was just a lot of scenes where you could definitely tell either the person didn't speak very good English or it wasn't recorded very well, because you can tell they had to dub it over with something that clearly wasn't said on that day of the set and things like that. So there is a lot of bad things regarding that in this movie. It was bad in Black Belt Jones, but unfortunately it got worse in the sequel of Hot Potato with the voice dubbing. And my other negative point, too, is even though it was cool to see a more international flavor added to a Black Belt Jones story, I really didn't get the point of why this couldn't have happened in the U.S. You really mean to tell me that there couldn't have been another cool Black Belt Jones story in the U.S.? You couldn't have sent him to New York. You couldn't have sent him to California. You couldn't have sent him to Florida. You couldn't have sent him to Texas. You couldn't have sent him to China or Japan or something like that. It's just like there's just so many other cool things you could have done if you maybe put one more year of script work into the movie. Just allow another year of production to happen to really make sure that you have the right script and the right director. That's another notable thing, too. This film was not directed by Robert Close, who did the first Black Belt Jones movie and who also did Enter the Dragon with Jim Kelly as well. So I think that had another major thing to do with this. It's the fact that they really had to rush this thing out of the door in order to get it made over the course of 1 year. But I really don't understand the benefit of not having this in the U.S. I think I would have almost preferred a Black Belt Jones story that had those characters from that first film return, had that love interest from the first movie, let them grow throughout the movie. And like the first film, too, this film really isn't very long. It's only about maybe 86 minutes long. So once again, I don't know the benefit of why they went outside of the U.S. to film this, and why they had to go with a story that wasn't in the U.S. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's like, okay, it's kind of cool that you're going with a more international flavor, but it would have been kind of cool to just see him do another kind of cool mission or cool story, or get to develop him and his love interest from the first movie a little bit more. So I didn't really understand the benefit of why they didn't want to do the U.S. in this story. So that was kind of a downside to me in this movie, as I didn't really see the benefit behind it. And a lot of the martial arts scenes are really, for the most part, pretty bad and poorly filmed. They're really not very engaging. They're not very good. Though Jim Kelly did choreograph his own fights here, that's really the only compliment I can give the martial arts, is they had somebody who knew a lot about it choreograph it. But unfortunately, when your camera work's bad, if the direction with your director is very bad, if it's just not filmed the right way, it's not going to matter at the end of the day. It's just going to look terrible on film. So a lot of the martial arts scenes in this film, unfortunately, are pretty bad and poorly filmed for the most part. There's also a weird thing that they do in this movie where they give the three men that go after this ambassador's daughter, Black Belt Jones, the lover boy guy, and the overweight guy, they kind of give them all like love interests at the last minute in this movie. And I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Like, are you saying they're just rewarded for doing this thing for this ambassador guy? Are you doing? And that's another thing. It's like now Black Belt Jones is cheating on this woman that he clearly, it was never clear if he broke up with her or not, and things like that. So that is one downside of making this a more standalone story, is what exactly happened to his love interest. Did they break up? Did they divorce? Did they get married at one point and now they're divorced, or something? The fact that they gave each of these characters a last-minute love interest that I really don't care about at all, I thought was really pretty bad. It just felt like last-minute writing. It's just like, hey, wouldn't it be kind of cool if they all kind of had a girl at the end of the movie to call their girlfriend and things like that? So it was just kind of a stupid little thing that they did at the end of the movie, is give them last-minute love interests, and I didn't really understand the benefit behind that either. So... and for the most part, this is a pretty boring plot. I mean, you really couldn't have just done something more cool than sent him to a different country to rescue this daughter of an ambassador. It's like you really couldn't have done something a little bit more interesting than that. After really knocking it out of the park with the first Black Belt Jones movie and kind of having this plot revolving around him helping his friend in this dojo that he's, getting in trouble with and things like that. So I thought the plot of this movie, for the most part, was pretty boring. I also don't understand why this movie's rated PG. I don't know if they were trying to appeal to kids more or allow more kids to see the film. It's definitely not a thing where it's like, oh, well, I guess more kids wanted to go see Black Belt Jones. And since it was rated R, they weren't allowed to, so we'll have to make sure Hot Potato is PG, even though we probably can't get the word out too well that it's going to be PG. So I don't really get why they had to do it that way. And they do a lot of stupid things, too, to try to appeal to kids more, like add little Looney Tunes wacky sound effects when they're hitting something or jumping over something, and it just kind of looks dumb by the end of the day. So I didn't really understand why they did that also. And for the most part, whenever they're trying to tell jokes in this movie, they are pretty much pretty bad. The fat guy doing fat jokes, hoo 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 hoo. The fat guy riding the elephant really weird, hoo 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 hoo. It's just like I don't know. Some of the jokes here I thought were just really not very funny at all. So I guess for the most part, Hot Potato was pretty much a bad failure of a sequel. Though I like that first Black Belt Jones film, this really was a very unfortunate follow-up. I can definitely see why this film didn't have a lot of discussion or talk compared to Black Belt Jones and things like that. So I'm going to give Hot Potato a 5 out of 10. There's things about it that really could have been really kind of cool for a sequel if they did it correctly, like the international flavor. Another Black Belt Jones story, a potential Black Belt Jones standalone story again. But unfortunately, there's a lot of bad things that wear those cool things down, like the bad voice the bad voice dubbing again. The fact that they really didn't film it in the U.S. for no reason. The martial art scenes are pretty poorly filmed. Everybody gets like a last minute love interest at the end of the film for no reason. The plot's boring. The PG rating I don't understand. I don't understand how they think this film could have appealed to kids. And for the most part, the jokes in this film are very, very bad. So 5 out of 10 for me. If you really want a good film for martial arts to watch, I would just say rewatch Enter the Dragon or rewatch Black Belt Jones. Don't bother with Hot Potato. It really is pretty bad. So Hot Potato, I'm going to give that a 5 out of 10. It's not a good movie.